The strange thing about life is that sometimes the moment that saves you doesn't look important at all, sometimes it's just a door opening too fast, rain pouring down, and two people who weren't supposed to meet sitting in the same quiet room, pretending they're fine when they're really not. Didn't they know it then, but that night changed everything. Back then, my name was Evan Cole, and I was the kind of man people walked past without noticing, not because I was invisible, but because I had perfected the art of staying small, keeping my head down, not asking for more than the bare minimum. I worked nights as a security guard at a forgotten parking lot on the edge of the city, one of those places with flickering lights, a dented metal booth, and an old TV that only picked up 3 channels if you slapped it hard enough. I wasn't daydreaming of anything anymore, not really. I had already burned through whatever future I thought I deserved. That night it was raining hard, not poetic rain, not movie rain, but the kind that soaks through your shoes and makes you regret every decision that led you outside. I was sitting there half watching the TV, half staring at nothing, when the door slammed open so suddenly I nearly jumped out of my chair. A woman rushed in. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look at me. She shut the door behind her, leaned back against it, breathing fast, then just walked straight to the bench and sat down like she belonged there. Before I could say a word, she opened her backpack and started pulling food out, bread, fruit, packaged snacks, stacking them neatly on the table like she was setting up camp. I remember thinking, either I'm about to get robbed, or this is about to get weird. I cleared my throat. "Ma'am, can I help you?" She froze, then tilted her head slightly toward my voice, smiling in that gentle, distracted way people smile when they're trying not to panic. "Oh my God," she said, "you work here?" "I'm so sorry, I thought this booth was empty tonight." That's when I noticed her eyes. They were open, beautiful actually, but they didn't quite land on me. They stayed fixed somewhere ahead, like she was looking through the wall instead of at it. "I'm blind," she added softly, like she was apologizing for the inconvenience of existing. "I didn't mean to take anything. If you want your food back, I can pack it up." She reached for her bag, fumbling just a little, and that's when it hit me, this wasn't someone trying to steal, this was someone trying to survive. I shook my head quickly. No, you're fine. I mean, I'm actually. I quit last week. I'm just finishing my last few shifts. Her face dropped. What? Then why did you take my food?" I didn't have a good answer for that. I just didn't want to embarrass her. I didn't want to be another voice telling her she didn't belong somewhere. She laughed awkwardly, then zipped her bag closed. "Okay then, I'll get out of your way." She stood up, reached for the door, and immediately stopped when the sound of rain exploded against the metal roof. She stood there a second longer than necessary, pretending to think, pretending not to be disappointed. I don't know what made me say it. Maybe loneliness recognizes loneliness faster than logic ever could. "You can stay," I said. "At least until the rain eases up. There is bad drainage out there." She smiled, real this time. "Thank you." That's how Lena Harper walked into my life, soaked by rain, carrying too much food, trusting a stranger she couldn't see, and somehow feeling safer with me than I felt with myself. We sat there quietly for a while. The TV played some old rerun neither of us was really watching. She leaned forward slightly, listening, like sound mattered more than pictures ever could. "Do you watch a lot of TV?" she asked. "Not really," I said. "It's more like background noise for my thoughts." She laughed. "Yeah. I get that." She told me she used to come here sometimes when the previous guard was on duty, an older guy named Frank who never asked questions and always let her sit through the rain. They retired recently. "This place helps me calm down," she said. "It's predictable. Safe. People don't grab at you when they think you can't see." I didn't know what to say to that. He just nodded, fists clenched under the table, suddenly very aware of how cruel the world could be without ever raising its voice. When the rain finally stopped, she packed her things and handed me a small container of food. "For you," she said. "And, if you don't mind, could you water that little plant outside? And feed the turtle in the basin? They don't like being forgotten." He watched her walk away slowly, carefully, like the world was something she had to negotiate with step by step. That night, for the first time in years, I didn't feel completely empty. The next day, she came back. And the day after that. Soon I found myself waiting for her without admitting I was waiting, opening the windows early, spraying cheap cologne I barely used, timing my breath so she wouldn't smell the sweat and metal and old regret clinging to me. She noticed everything. "Can you open the window a little?" she asked once. "The air feels heavy." He panicked, sniffed my shirt, kicked my boots off quietly, stepped outside to wash my hands like a teenager before a first date. He brought her peaches one afternoon, perfectly ripe, soft, sweet. She reached out to thank me, and I froze, staring at her hand like it was made of glass. When our palms finally touched, she flinched. "Your hands," she said slowly. "They're rough. Scarf. Even the back of them. Is sharp. Old work." She didn't push. She never pushed. That was her kindness, knowing when not to ask. Days turned into routines. Routines turned into something warmer. She asked if I was handsome. He asked what colors felt like to her. We laughed. We sat in silence that didn't ache. Then one night, everything cracked. A car horn blared too close. She startled, slipped, fell hard onto the pavement. He ran to her without thinking, hands shaking as I pressed her ankle, whispering that it was okay, and I had her. The streetlight hit her face just right. I swear, in that moment, the whole world went quiet. She was breathtaking. And I fell in love so hard it terrified me. That was when I realized, this wasn't just comfort anymore. This was hope. And hope, for someone like me, was dangerous. After the fall, things didn't snap back into place the way people like to believe they do in stories. There was no clean cut, no gentle fade into romance, just a long quiet stretch where everything felt more fragile, like one wrong breath could shatter what we were building. I walked Lena to the clinic that night, my arm hovering near her elbow, careful not to touch unless she asked, terrified that if I moved too fast it'd scare her back into whatever darkness she'd already learned to live with. The doctor wrapped her ankle, said it wasn't broken, told her to rest, the kind of calm voice that makes you feel like pain is manageable, temporary, survivable. On the way home she got quiet, the good kind of quiet, the kind where someone feels safe enough not to fill the air with noise. "You don't have to stay," she said eventually. "I know you're working." He crouched down in front of her without thinking. "I can carry you, if you want." She laughed, surprised. "Are you serious?" "Yeah. Dead serious." She hesitated, then leaned forward, arms slipping around my shoulders, light at first, then trusting. When I stood up, her weight settled against me, warm and real, her breath brushing my ear. I won't lie, my heart nearly beat its way out of my chest. The stairs to her apartment felt endless. Halfway up she teased, "Are you tired?" "No," I said too fast. "Then why do I feel like I'm sliding?" She smiled, and for the first time since everything went wrong in my life, I felt normal. Like a man, not a ghost. Inside her apartment, everything was arranged with intention. No sharp corners. Furniture pushed back. Soft textures everywhere. She moved through the space by memory and sound, while I moved through it with guilt, seeing all the invisible adjustments she'd been forced to make. She knocked over a small porcelain figurine by accident. It shattered. Her face fell. "I love that angel," she whispered. Later, when she wasn't looking, I slipped the broken pieces into my jacket pocket. I fixed it that night. Glued it back together so carefully you could barely see the cracks. I told myself it was just kindness. I told myself a lot of things back then. A few days later, she handed me 2 concert tickets. "I don't really understand music the way other people do," she said, "but I like the way it feels in my chest. I was wondering if you'd go with me." "I don't have anyone else." I tried to play it cool. "Sure. Yeah. Sounds nice." Inside, I felt like a kid who'd just been chosen last for a team he never thought they belonged to. She dressed up for that night. Did her hair. Put on perfume. I noticed everything. We laughed. We talked. For a moment, the past stayed quiet. Then she asked about it. "So what were you before this?" she said casually, like she wasn't stepping on a landmine. I snapped. "Why do you always have to ask people about their past?" The silence that followed was heavy. I realized immediately what I'd done, how cruel it sounded, hiding behind her blindness like it gave me permission to be careless. I apologized. Eventually. Told her I used a box. Told her I did something bad. Something I couldn't undo. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't judge. "Everyone has shadows, Evan," she said. "Some are just louder than others." Isolde told her everything right then. I didn't. The man who showed up at her apartment a week later forced my hand. He was her former supervisor, a smooth-talking predator who they mistaken her vulnerability for an invitation. He pushed past her door, raised his voice, let his mask slip. He arrived just in time to see fear on her face. Something inside me broke. I don't remember deciding to hit him. I remember my fists connecting. I remember the sound of bone. I remember not being able to stop. Lena's voice cut through it. Evan. Please. I stepped back, shaking, seeing myself the way she most may imagined me, dangerous, unpredictable, wrong. After he was gone, she curled into the corner of the room, arms wrapped around herself. I can't be with someone who scares me, she said quietly. Even if I know you didn't mean to scare me. He left the angel on the table. I didn't say goodbye. He trained like a man possessed after that. Boxing was the only thing that ever shut my mind up. Every punch felt like penance. Every bruise felt deserved. That's when she told me about the accident. It was her birthday. We stood by her parents' graves, they are heavy with memory. 5 years ago, she said, I was driving. He saw something burning on the road. A man on fire. He looked too long. So did the other driver. That's all it took. My heart stopped. The guilt he'd been running from finally caught me. That man on fire was the result of a job he'd done, a debt collection gone wrong. He'd been there. He'd caused it. He was the reason she was blind. He was the reason her parents were dead. He don't remember leaving the cemetery. He remembered collapsing in a gym bathroom, sobbing like a child. Then the doctor called. Her vision was fading further. Surgery could save it. But time was running out. He didn't have the money. He had only one thing left to sell. My body. An underground fight promoter remembered me. Offered the cash. One fight. No guarantees. He said yes. He lied to Lena about having savings. He begged her to try the surgery. She resisted at first. Said she deserved the darkness. Then I asked her if she wanted to see our future. She agreed. The night before the surgery, she held me close. What if you're not what I imagine, she asked softly. Then I'll still be me, I said, even if I'm not pretty. The fight was brutal. My opponent was bigger, stronger. He couldn't feel my legs halfway through. But I saw her smile. Heard her laugh by the ocean. And I stood up. He won. On the way back, they hit me with a car. I never made it to the hospital in time. She woke up seeing the world again. When Lena opened her eyes after the surgery, the first thing she saw wasn't a face. It was light. Soft, pale light leaking in through a hospital window, the kind that don't hurt but still makes you squint, like the world easing you back into itself, gently, patiently, as if it knows you've been gone for a long time. She cried, not because it was beautiful, but because it was overwhelming. Shapes. Colors. Shadows. Movement. All the things she'd learned to live without came rushing back at once, and with them came a single, aching thought that drowned out everything else. Where is Evan? She asked the nurses. They didn't know. She asked again. They avoided her eyes. She waited. She told herself he was outside getting coffee, pacing the hallway the way nervous people do, promising himself not to cry. But hours passed. Then a day. Then another. No Evan. The room filled with flowers from friends, distant relatives, people who meant well, but all she wanted was the sound of his breathing nearby, the weight of his presence, the quiet reassurance that he was still there, still choosing her. Instead, she got a letter. It was folded neatly. No return address. Written in a familiar, careful handwriting that felt like a hand resting on her shoulder. It told her everything. About the fire. About the accident. About the fight. About how loving her had been the first honest thing he'd done in his entire life, and how that honesty terrified him more than any punch ever could. He wrote, I wasn't your light, Lena. He was your darkness. And I can't stand the thought of being the thing that takes from you again. She held that letter until it was soft from her tears. For a long time after that, she lived in a strange in-between place. The world was visible again, but it felt hollow, like a set built for a life she hadn't agreed to start in. She went back to work eventually. Opened a small flower shop with a friend, just like she and Evan had once talked about in passing, half joking, half dreaming. She named it Second Morning. People flirted with her. Asked her out. Complimented her smile. She declined politely every time. Because love, real love, had already found her once. And she knew better than to rush it. A year passed. One afternoon, she volunteered at a rehabilitation hospital, reading to patients who couldn't leave their beds yet, people learning how to live in bodies that had betrayed them. That's when she heard the voice. Low. Familiar. Laughing softly at something a nurse said. Her heart skipped. Logic rushed in to save her. Don't be ridiculous. You hear what you want to hear. But when she stepped into the room, something in her chest tightened anyway. The man lay on the bed, thinner than she remembered, hair shorter, one leg supported by a brace. He looked away when she entered. She didn't recognize his face right away. Time had reshaped it. Pain had softened and hardened different edges. But when she placed her hand gently against his back to help him sit up, the world shifted. She knew that touch. It was the same back she'd leaned against on the stairs. The same shoulders she'd held onto when she was afraid of falling. The same man who smelled faintly of soap and effort and restraint. She checked the chart. Different name. She stepped back, embarrassed, disappointed in herself for hoping too hard. I'm sorry, she said. He thought, never mind. She left before her voice could break. Ivan stayed very still until the door closed. Only then did he let himself cry. He discharged himself early a week later. Limped out into a city that didn't know him anymore. He told himself it was enough to have seen her alive, whole, shining. He walked into a flower shop by accident. The smell stopped him first. Jasmine. Frisol. Memory. There she was. Hair longer. A smile brighter. Alive in a way that made his chest ache. He bought flowers he didn't need. Kept his head down. Bathed quickly. As he turned to leave, he slipped a small turtle figurine into his pocket, instinct more than intention. Outside, a dog came barreling toward him. A grown dog now. Strong. Happy. Sim. The leash went taut. Lena's voice followed. Sim, stop, oh my god, I'm so sorry, are you okay? She reached for him, steadying his arm. He nodded, terrified she'd see through him. I think I've seen you before, she said slowly. At the hospital. He nodded again, then turned away too fast. Sim whined, pulled, refused to leave. Back inside, Lena noticed the missing turtle. Her breath caught. She ran. Found him by the beach. The old swing still creaked in the wind. He stood at the water's edge, releasing the turtle gently, like letting go of something sacred. She said his name. He froze. I don't look the way you imagine, he said, voice breaking. I didn't want to disappoint you. She walked toward him anyway. I didn't fall in love with your face, she said. I fell in love with your hands. Your voice. The way you waited for me. She took his face in her hands. Don't leave again. He collapsed into her arms. And for the first time, neither of them felt alone. If you made it all the way to the end of this story, thank you, truly. I'd love to know what this made you feel. Do you believe love can survive guilt? Would you forgive, or would you walk away? Leave your thoughts in the comments, share this with someone who needs it, and thank you for sitting with this story until the very last word. And I disappeared.